thought I would start a short tutorial series for the very basics of BBC Basic, mainly on the Agon Light 2, which is a fantastic project. So basically I've created some repositories. I'll have all links and everything in the description of this video. But if you go to the 8-Bit Noobs repositories, and you'll see various demos aimed at the absolute noob like myself. As I learn, I'm just documenting what I learn. I'm sure there's quite a lot that's done a little different to most people would do, and my code's obviously not very efficient at all, but I'm hoping to just get the basics across to people like myself who are new to all this. So we'll start with the demo 1, which is user-defined characters. If you download this project, it's literally only one file, and there's the code there. And all we're doing is we are drawing 4 characters per letter to the screen, and I'll show you how that works. So basically, just start off by going to this web page, and I've got the link in the description below again. Basically, user-defined characters. So obviously characters are what we use to print to the screen, to display text normally, and these are built up, each font or whatever is built up on an 8x8 grid, and each square is a binary bit, so you can work out per row. If you go to this web page and just follow it through, it explains it quite clearly and a lot better than I can. A few things I will point out. Obviously each row you just add up these values, and that gives you the value for that row of your char sequence. This is quite a interesting bit because basically the characters that we use anyway, the alphabet and numbers on your keyboard, for instance, we don't really want to touch them because we still want to be able to type in a program or whatever. So if you start at 200, it's a pretty safe area to start redefining new characters, because what we're going to do is redefine what these characters look like, save them in a slot between 200 and 255, I believe. Yeah, and we assign them like this. I'll run through my code in a minute and show you that, but it's a VDU statement of 23, and then you assign it to whichever character. This is assigning it to the character number 240, and then you just start with the top row and work your 8 rows down with whatever numbers you have created by adding these values up. It's as simple as that. I'm doing this bit on my phone, so I do apologise if the quality's a bit crap and or a bit shaky. But yeah, this one's to cover the same demo as what we've been talking about. Here's how you do it as per that web page to get your character, and this is how I did the A. So this is exactly how I did it. Here's character 201, obviously 0, 0, 0, 0. If you look at character 201 on line 7730 in my code, then you'll see those numbers and how they fit in. And the same with character 202, 203 and 204. And then I move on to obviously the G and do the same principle on that. Now these are just all the numbers, the binary bits of whichever one you've shaded in. So you can make that image as anything you want. So I'll switch to my demo code and I'll go through each line. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I've over commented everything so that it can just explain to somebody that might not understand just these simple things, you know. So I have complicated the code a little with, I've included quite a few bits just to show you concepts of things like the procs, how we can write a section of code a bit further down and keep it all organised, and then just call that bit of code in your main program basically. So if we look at proc load vars, the rem is a rem statement which basically means that you can just type a description of what code does and such like to keep things. Like I say, I've really gone heavy on it, so it explains everything. So proc load vars will call a defined proc called load vars. And really, normally you wouldn't have this, you'd have this at the top of the page anyway, but I just thought I'd do it as a example of how these work. So first of all, I'm defining all my variables. I've done all the colours in there, don't use most of them or whatever, but just so that you can see how you would do that. Mode is for the screen mode. Right text, left text are variables for spacing on the screen. So it's 31 characters from the left or 2 characters from the left or whatever. To just set some margins up. Then we've got T1x, T1y is the coordinates, a variable for the coordinates for the words. So I've got LT and RT, T1x and T2x, because I've actually done it in 2 separate words. So I've got Agon X and the Agon Y, but I've got that separate to light, so I could move them about independently around the screen if I wanted to, but I don't in this code. I just wanted to put everything in here, like I say, to make things simple and easy and clear. So let's start off how we define these. I've already showed you in the on that web page, and here is me doing it in the code. So we define the characters here. Here's the A, and because we're doing a 2x2 to make it bigger, we're doing a 2x2 letter, so I'm actually using 4 characters to build that letter up. So I've got the characters starting at 201, 202, 203, 204. So the VDU23 statement is defining which character we're going to assign this to, and that's 201. And then these are the pixels that we drew out on the 8x8 grid. I've obviously got 4 of them for the 4 8x8 grids to make the A. It's quite simple. If you follow that with that, it completely makes sense. And then we've got, let's just have a look. As soon as we've assigned them all, so here we're just loading the chars into the character number basically. HUD chars, I've just made some chars that for some corners and some straight lines so that I can draw a border. That's how the border appears on the screen. If we go back to the top, we've loaded the vars, we've loaded the chars. The init screen just sets, the same again, this would normally be just at the top, but the init screen, if I can find it, it just sets some basics. Why can't I find that? HUD, draw light, draw argon, load chars, init screen here. So we've defined the init screen. The mode is going to be the variable of mode, which is in the variables. We're just clearing the screen and clearing the graphics of text and any graphics on there, and we're hiding the cursor so that's not flashing around. And then we're just ending this proc of init screen And then we go down to the main loop. So here's the main loop. We clear the screen again, just in case. And then we're assigning NX and NY, 14 and 2. So that'll be 14 characters across and 2 characters up. So right at the top of the screen below the HUD border. Here is a loop which changes the colour of the text that we're printing. So that's quite straightforward if you know how the for loops work. Here we're increasing the Y position on each one of those loops as well, so that the text moves down the screen each loop. And then as long as it's below 23, which is the bottom of the screen, it'll add 1 to it, so just move it down each loop. If it's greater than 23, then it's basically resetting it back up to the top, so then it would come back down again. Proc draw Agon. So here's where the interesting bit gets of how the program actually works. Proc draw Agon, and then we're actually putting in the NX and the NY there. The only reason I do it this way is so that you could have another bit of code up here that alters these and puts it somewhere different. So NX, draw Agon, and then as you see I'm doing those same coordinates just +2 because we want the light to be offset by 2 characters and down 2 characters, which is basically below, so it's Agon Light. When we play it you'll see that quite clear. This I'm just using as a delay. I thought I'd do it this way so that then you can always, if you want to speed the program up, just press any key. But that's doing a delay for me so that it doesn't give you epilepsy. It gets a bit crazy when it's at full speed. And then it obviously loops back to the next J, so it just goes through the 64 colours. And then that's the end of the main loop. So once it's finished the main loop, it moves the cursor back up to the top left hand corner, and then it ends the program, and that's why the cursor starts flashing. And that is it. Yeah, I don't think I use any of these. There's quite a bit in here that maybe it isn't used, but I thought I'd just leave it in so that you can pick through it. Any questions, I'll obviously just leave in the comments. I think everything's pretty self-explanatory. I can't really think of anything else I need to explain. This VDU call literally just hides the cursor, and this one shows the cursor. So that's when I say, wherever I say it, I'll say it in my main loop, hide cursor. It just calls that proc there, which is a VDU statement to hide the cursor. Yeah, I think that's it really.